my second home in Adelaide, Australia, doing the Adelaide Fringe Festival, and get to work out at one of my favorite gyms in the whole world. And the gym is called Mode Fitness. It's not Mode CrossFit, it's Mode Fitness. And the owner is none other than one of the fittest men in the world, and now could be titled the fittest man in Australia, James Newberry.
G'day guys, how we doing?
There's a good day for you. Good day, guys. Fucking hell, mate. Fucking here. Um, I am. I love Australia. Everybody knows that, and the hospitality is amazing. People always say, "Why'd you come to Australia?" People are so nice, and I've never been treated as well as when I came to Australia. A lot of other countries have been nice to me, but Australia just, it was like there was an embrace, and it's the same way with the CrossFit gyms. You go in, and you're treated like you, it's your gym, and your gym's amazing. One of the best gyms I've ever seen in the CrossFit world, and I got to say congratulations.
Thank you, appreciate it.
You have earned your golden ticket.
Yeah, well, it's good to get it out of the way so early, that's for sure.
It's funny that the CrossFit Games this year is, uh, it's like the hardest to get into, and yet there's this black cloud overhead of like, is it gonna happen?
Yeah, are we even going to have the CrossFit Games this year? Like, we don't know what's going on. We're just like, the thing is, we're sitting back just thinking, well, we don't know what's going on. We don't know, like, kind of know when it's going to be, but we don't know if we're going to be competing for a day and then be cut, and we don't know whether we're going to be competing for 2 or 3 days or what's to go. Like, we're just kind of playing it by ear and just hoping for the best and looking forward to seeing it all roll out.
And someone like you, I've watched you work out and train and all that goes into it. Your entire life is invested in this.
100%. Yeah, it's kind of different. I was talking with a few people the other day, and it's sort of like, for a lot of people, especially the people that are, making it to the games on a regular basis, for them now it's a full-time job, and so we don't really know whether how it's gonna pan out, whether it's gonna be better or worse for our sponsors, whether it's gonna be better or worse for us, whether you could maintain doing it as a full-time thing anymore. It's just like, we don't really know. This year is a tester, but I feel like there's opportunity for it to grow and be bigger and better. So I'm looking at it in a positive light.
I'm looking at it as though I do everything. I vacillate back and forth. Sometimes I'm very cynical about it, and I'm like, this is all going to collapse. And then other days I'm like, Glassman's a genius.
Yeah, that's kind of like where we kind of think the same thing, I think.
There's so much conjecture, and there's a couple models. I mean, is he letting it be run kind of like the PGA Tour in golf, where all these individuals go off and do it themselves, and then at the end of the year, like, why invest the money if you don't have to? That's what I'm thinking. It's coming from this mindset of, it was never making them massive amounts of money. CrossFit, certs and affiliates were what make their money. Why waste the time when everyone will do it for you?
Mm. Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a bit of a hybrid PGA Tour mixed with the Olympics, because now they're making it inclusive for every country to send someone, and now, but even probably more inclusive because there's no standard. Like, it's just you have to win your country.
Well, I was just talking to somebody who was in the know a bit, was talking about that federation that they're trying to build, and I think your former coach, Big Bobby D, is involved in that, and a few other guys, and which is a great idea. And there's nothing better than having, it's like the NFL has the Players Association, where these guys join, and then they have a bit of a, almost like unionized, to be able to work within their framework, so they can't enslave you and make you do everything they want.
Totally. So if we get given, for instance, say Murph at midday on a 40-degree day, and all the athletes sort of say, no, that's not a good idea, we don't really want to do that,
right,
then we have some pull to say, look, this is dumb, or or whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, we want to test, but we don't want to die.
You don't want to die. Yeah, there are things. I mean, it's all, people are like, oh, you should be able to do anything. Should you be able to jump off a 20-story building and land on your feet? Like there's a place where you have to draw the line, and the federation will be good at that, and will be good if it happens and comes to fruition. It's an amazing. I think it's a great thing. I think it protects the athletes. What was the year that everybody tore their pecs? Was that 2 years ago?
Yeah, I think that was like 2016.
And what was the? It was going to ring dips
It was
from, but
yeah,
something else caused it.
yeah. It was like pretty sure wasn't it dumbbell snatch?
Dumbbell snatch, going from dumbbell snatch to ring dips.
Yeah.
And so
something
you're like,
that. Yeah.
you're like, I forget what the movement, how it.
Yeah, I think it was just the force generated because people were kipping the ring dips and obviously trying to touch their back or their traps up to this height. The force generated every time they would free fall to the bottom where their bicep would touch the top of the ring and then jing through so much torture in
Yeah.
the weeks leading up. So
Yeah.
they overdid it there and then, went out and, you're competing so you're going in hot. And I think, people were just suffering from, just overworked pecs and just too much force generated out of there because there was a lot more males than females that I think
Yeah.
had the pec
Yeah.
tears, and I think the stress of the force that was going into it was not
I get that.
not ideal.
I get the same thing from push-ups, but you,
Yeah.
you give me a round of 10 and I'm like, oh, I think I just tore my pec.
Yeah.
It's I'm glad to see you guys are protected. Going into the games, we're gonna play Where's Waldo? Where the fuck is Dave Castro?
Yeah, well, I have no idea. As far as I can tell, he's moved over to CrossFit Health, and I think it's going to be probably just Justin Berg, taking the reins. And I don't know how it's going to pan out. Where literally, this could be, it could be the games might be held in, somewhat less prestige to previous years. We don't know, or it could be more. We just don't really know how it'll pan out, and we don't know how they're going to do the knockout system that they've, we're anticipating. We're anticipating a knockout system on day one, but how are they going to, find, either 20 or 10 with speculation out of the, potential 150 to 180 odd people, including, sanctioned event winners and then the wild cards, which we've heard about. There's apparently a few wild cards in there too.
Oh, we know. My good friend Hunter McIntyre
Oh, yeah.
has been campaigning to be a wild card.
I would love him to do it.
I would love him to do it also because, there is something to his level of fitness, which is, it's completely different than yours. And it's like, I've been going to yoga the past couple days, and I get in there, and I think I'm generally pretty fit, and I'm the worst in class. And I'm sitting there going, I wonder how, a really fit CrossFitter, like someone like you, would do in yoga compared to, these freaks that go here every day. And they've got a different level of fitness in a different realm of fitness. So it's like Glassman's got his whole definition of fitness, but we all know that's just Glassman's definition.
Yeah.
So someone like Hunter McIntyre has a complete, his argument is always, he shits the bed in the open.
Yep.
There's a couple events he does well, but because it's averaged, and that's the whole definition of CrossFit is, overbroad, all these modalities. But then he said the games they always try to make more entertaining, so they're more obstacle course oriented, more move from here to here to here,
Quickly.
Running, swimming,
Yeah.
biking, and that's more up his alley.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, yeah, but the games isn't just the games. It's the open, the regionals, and you didn't qualify.
Yeah.
So he thinks, look, I kind of get in through this, and then I prove myself.
Yeah. He would fare at the games better than he would fare at regionals or the open.
Armin and I used to have this argument. Armin says he would do terrible at the games, though, because, as you know, you can win some events, but if you come in last in events,
Oh, you're fucked.
you got to be a guy that finishes 9, 10.
Yeah, across the board the whole time.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I really enjoy, the stuff that I really enjoy, especially at the games, is the outdoor stuff. I love mixing up my training. Like I couldn't think of anything worse than day in, day out. And I do it at the moment, but I get to vary it so much, which is great. But if I was, restricted to only gym training, and I wasn't allowed to go for a bike ride, and I wasn't allowed to go for a swim at the beach, and I wasn't allowed to jump on a paddleboard or jump on, a mountain bike or whatever, anything. Wasn't allowed to go to the track. I would fall out of love with it, and if I fell out of love with doing it, I wouldn't do it.
Right.
100%.
Well, it's funny, you look at any sport, you drill your sport, to then go play a game.
Yeah.
And I think that's what CrossFit, and I've always wanted this to happen, and it's getting more and more like that, where you drill those things that, like, those heavy snatches are going to help you when you're dragging a fucking weighted body, you know, when the dummy across the field. People go, well, what? Oh, your lats are going to be in, you know, everything, your shoulders, and that's all coming from all your training.
Yeah.
So it has started to really come together, because I don't want to see them do Fran and Helen and all. I mean, it's nice every once in a while to throw them in. It's really fun. It's exciting. But the fact that they cyclocross or whatever they add to it. You did well in that one, didn't you?
I did well in the crit race.
Or the crit race. I'm sorry, the crit race.
Yeah, I did well in the crit race, but I'd done, you know, a couple of handfuls of crit races prior to that.
Oh, you had?
Yeah, just because I really, here in Adelaide, we're quite blessed in the fact that we have the beach 10 minutes that way, we have the hills 10 minutes that way, and we're right in the city, and we have a crit circuit, literally a 5-minute bike ride from my gym. So on a Tuesday night when they race the crits, I drove past, I was like, oh, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And then Kayla, my girlfriend's brother, was doing it for a bit, and he's just like, oh, you should go out and do it. So I got a bike and went out and did it, and I had a blast, and it took my heart rate skyrocketing. It was awesome fun.
Does it really? It gets you up there?
My God! You think the assault bike's rough? Go race a 45-minute crit race. Oh my God! It's like your legs just blow up, and you want to win because you're competitive.
Yeah.
So the last 2 laps is 3 kilometers of just lactic, and or you're just trying to hang on for dear life. It's great. It's so much fun, and you try not to fall off your bike either. So, that's the type of stuff I enjoy. I love getting in the gym. I love lifting weights. I love doing gymnastics. I love doing all that stuff. But I look forward to the afternoons after my long gym sessions are done to go either hit laps in the pool with the surf club, or take my prone paddleboard out and go catch a few little runners just off my beach, which has no waves, but sometimes we get some. Or take my bike out and ride 10 minutes that way and be up in the hills. So
your hills here. I ran the hills 2 days ago. I was blown away. I didn't realize Adelaide has serious hills.
Did you do Lofty?
I did somewhere back in. My buddy is an ultra racer.
Yeah.
And another comedian named Mickey D.
Okay.
And Michael Dwyer, and he's you wouldn't know it. You look at him, he's got tits. He's a fat little fuck. And as long as I've known him, as long as I've been coming here, he'll always go come for a run with me. And I'm like, you can't run with me. Look at you. And then he just burns me.
Yeah.
And I go, what the? How? And he runs these 100-mile races or whatever he does. He's climbed to Everest base camp, and he does all this stuff. But he's he's a little binge eater.
Yeah.
When he goes home at night, he stuffs his fat little. I love making fun of him. He stuffs his fat little fucking face. So he took me. He goes, this is where I train, and he took me up there. And I've been working with Brian McKenzie, who I know you worked with, and trying to bring my heart rate down. Mm-hmm. Because I've always been training anaerobically. And I've got to start building an aerobic capacity because I blow up. And just for life, it's just better to have.
Of course. Yeah.
So I'm running with him, and he's like, oh, fuck your nasal breathing. And I'm like, slow down. I have to go slower. Yeah. And he's like, this is embarrassing. I go, I know, but I told you I had to do this. Yeah. And he just, sure enough, I just couldn't, and I had to start pushing it and run with him. And then I'm looking at my heart rate, and I'm fucking flying, and I'm like, here I go, not doing any good. This was a waste of a day for me. Yeah. But the mountains were incredible.
Yeah, they're great. They're really good, and they're tough. To get from just the one that most people know about or go to is you just go to Mount Lofty, and it's 3.8 k's, but there's a lot of incline.
I ran that one once.
Yeah, a lot.
It was tougher than I thought.
Yeah, I think my best time going up Lofty from the cafe at the bottom to as soon as you hit the plateau at the top is 28 minutes and 28 seconds or something.
And you said that was how many K?
3.8.
3.8. It seems longer. I tried to run it and couldn't run the whole thing. I was like,
nah. There are a few times where your legs just blow up, and especially if you hit some back squats either earlier that day or the day before, or some heavy deadlifts. It's like your lower back is just in agony, and it's just screaming at you, just saying, stop what you're doing. And
some guys from your gym told me they do it with weight vests.
Yeah, so we did it one day. We did it in a weight vest, and we had to carry just one kettlebell, so it was lopsiding us. So you'd have to keep changing hands with a heavy kettlebell, but it was a 12-kilo kettlebell. So it was but you can't run. You kind of walk really fast, and you know if you get some flats, you might be able to run a little bit. But yeah, that's pretty grueling.
Oh, that would be brutal.
Yeah. Wasn't as grueling by any means as much as the 400-meter run in South Africa for Fitters in Cape Town.
What was the run? What was it exactly?
400 meters up an incline. You know the first incline at Lofty is really steep. It's kind of like that, but for 400 meters. And you've got these big long stairs, so it's not like one step per stair. It's like a step and a half, so it's not quite right.
Yeah.
And so it was about 400 and I think it was probably 420 odd meters. But you'd get to a unknown point, and you'd pick up a sandbag, and a heavy sandbag, 180-pound sandbag. So it's like, I don't know, an 80 kilos, basically just under my body weight, 10 kilos under my body, 8 kilos under my body weight. Pick it up, run it for an unknown distance during that 400-meter carry, drop it on the ground, and then finish it off. So it ended up being,
When you say unknown distance, like you had no idea?
No, we didn't know where the sandbag was, how far we had to carry it. We didn't know what.
So you can't game it. You can't say, well, I'm going to push it. You kind of have to pace yourself not knowing.
Yeah, and it's only a 400-meter run, so it kind of took the pacing out the window because everyone took off or something crazy. It was I would guess it was probably about 150-meter run to the sandbag. Then it was probably about 120-meter carry up the incline with the sandbag. And then, yeah, whatever it was to finish off, like, another...
How many times you put the sandbag down?
None.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Well, there was a few times there I thought, I got to put this thing down. I was like, oh, the guys in front of me aren't putting it down, they're not put it down. So I didn't put it down. A lot of guys did. But no, made it the whole way, but by the end of it, you're kind of like in that zombie state where you're just trying to hold it and don't let it go, don't let it go, don't let it go.
I run 400 meters, I'm in that zombie state.
Yeah, yeah, I know. And I thought, this is going to be great, because we thought we were doing a 400 meter around the track. We thought it was just going to be,
a sprint.
Yeah, 60-second sprint. Done.
Which sucks.
Yeah, which sucks
too.
Heavily.
Yeah.
But then they tweaked it, and then we thought we were doing sand dune run. We thought we were doing a 400 meter sand dune.
Which would suck.
Which would suck, but I would have liked that one, because I do sand dunes all the time, because being in Adelaide, we have great sand dunes here. But yeah, like, we put the bag down and you think, okay, I'm good. And then the guys where you put the bag down, they're just like, go on, sprint, you're almost there, sprint it. And you're just like, you're taking off. He's like, I'm trying.
And it was still hill.
It was still incline. And then it's like, you take off and you get into a bit of a jog. And then you look up and then you just see staircase. And you're just like, oh, fuck. And then it got to the point where you either, like at the end of like a heavy sled push where you just, you're just immobilized. You can't move. It's like you're walking through mud, you got concrete on your feet.
It's good for me to hear that can actually happen to you guys.
100%.
Because I didn't know how far they'd hit. For me, you one sled push and I feel like that. But for you guys, I wondered, like, a lot of people say you guys game it and you're, going at like 85% of your heart rate and you'll only push it at the end because, you got to save yourself for the whole day. But I'm glad to know that you're just gunning it, like redlining the whole time.
Yeah, it was.
And that you actually have that. Because here's the analogy I'll use. Most people go out and run 100 meter or 400 meter dash, and they'll hit a wall at 300 meters and lose their pacing all the way into the finish line. At the finish line, they'll collapse. Whereas someone like a Michael Johnson, somebody like the best 400 meter runners in the world, will run it, and you'll be like, that guy's like breathing at like 150 beats per minute. Like, how is he standing there, able to have a conversation with the interviewer? He's fine because he's trained at that so much that at this point we look at you guys like these great CrossFit, the 0.01 percenters, that there's nothing that could take you to that.
Oh, there's plenty. That did for sure. I had about...
Who won the event?
I believe it was a new kid that I've never really heard of his name before. His name was Andre Hude.
Oh, yeah.
And he's from... I'm pretty sure he's like Polish or... he's from Norway.
Oh, yeah, he's from the Isle of Steroid.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
Well, I think he won that event, but when he crossed the line, because he was in the heat after me, when he crossed the line, he just collapsed and he's like, eyes rolled back in his head, but we're all feeling like that. And I think Cole Sager said it was one of the hardest events he's ever done in his life. There's
things that I've done that, top guys have programmed just to like play with me and fuck with me that are neurological, that they can affect you. It looks like on paper, like that's not very hard. But then neurologically, your body shuts down. I did a sled broad jump workout once
Yeah.
that Zach Forrest did to me.
Yeah.
That it was like you pushed the sled, it wasn't very heavyweight, and then you broad jumped back, and it was like 4 rounds or something, and I was like, this is nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But into round 3, all of a sudden I couldn't get my nerves to fire.
Couldn't jump.
Yeah, I couldn't, and I couldn't understand
What's going on?
how that, and so it was,
Yes.
and I guess this is kind of,
I got to the point where my hands were on my quads, and I had to walk. I couldn't run. Couldn't
yeah,
get my legs
yeah,
up.
I can't imagine.
So I had like 40 meters to go, and I could not. I'm just like, run. In my head, I was like, run, jog it, do something, don't walk. And as I tried to, they would just fail on me. I just had to like walk, like fast walk, but with my hands on here.
It's like that old video. Did you ever see the old video of Khalipa when he kept picking up the weight and he
Yeah.
just couldn't get it? And it was like,
Yeah.
everybody knows he can lift that,
Yeah.
but his body
Just yeah.
would not lift that weight at that point.
In Amanda 2010, I remember.
Yeah, and I do love that about CrossFit. I love to see them break you guys.
Yeah, it was fun. Like I was at the end. I was like, what the fuck just happened?
How did you finish? I'm sorry, I didn't.
I think it was like maybe 10th or something like that. But it took, so time wise, I'm pretty sure it was like, I want to say it was 3 minutes. It was a 3-minute run.
Oh, brutal.
So it was bad time.
Brutal. It's like an 800 meter,
Yeah.
but
So I think, yeah, it was either 3 minutes or 4 minutes. And I think my time was either, 3:02, 3:03 or 4:03. And I think the guy who won it was like, whatever that time was, like 30 seconds faster.
how did Sean Sweeney, who won, Sean won that?
Yeah, so actually we're in the same heat, and with about 40 meters to go, Sean Sweeney just comes straight by me and finishes off and ends up coming third in the race.
Oh, that's got to piss you off too. That's one of those things like to get. That's why I love the racing of CrossFit. Like I don't like, when people are in a box. I like to see who just, and it's great when they move it from stage to stage to stage,
Yeah.
because you're like, oh,
Yeah.
oh,
Who's breaking?
and that gets in your head
Yeah.
because I know, like any sport, you're trying to run your own event and you're competing with yourself, and you have to stay with. It helps to keep those blinders on,
Yes.
but you can't help it.
Sometimes you get suckered into it, and especially an event that's so short, like a 3-minute event, it's just like, well, I don't have time to pace this too much because, in a 3-minute event, it's going to be done in seconds, so you can't think, I'll get him on the next movement or something like that. It's just like, no, I can't.
Go.
If I want to make the opportunity, I got to try now, and if I try and fail, at least I tried.
Right.
So I tried to pick it up, but my body just wouldn't allow it. So it's just like I did my best. I couldn't have gone any
What
faster.
do you attribute that to? Your lactate threshold, your muscular endurance. What thing when that was happening? Were you going, I didn't do enough squats,
Well,
or I didn't do enough? My nutrition's not up, or
yeah. So probably attributing it to anything. Like I think, for instance, it'd probably be like a lactate threshold thing, which is not the end of the world because like we can train that quite quickly to turn around well. But more than likely, if anything, like that's an event that I love running. I love running hills. I don't want to make an excuse, but probably the plane flight the day before, which was like 20 hours. Probably if anything.
Yeah,
probably that. Because that's an event that I would love to do that event again. Like
what?
I would like to do it again, but I'd like to do it without the. I want to do it with the guys and my buddies in the gym. I want to take them up to Lofty and do something similar so they can feel. And,
so they can know the pain.
And I want to be at the finish line so I can see their faces as they come across.
That sounds like when I watched the movie Snowtown.
Yeah.
I was watching it all alone in bed and I was freaking out so bad I woke my wife up.
Yeah.
She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "You
gotta watch this.
You need to share this with me. I can't watch this alone."
Yeah.
And then I told every person on the podcast, not this podcast, my other podcast, I was like, "Watch Snowtown," and then I would get messages back on Twitter that would just say, "@Eddie Ift, just watch Snowtown." Fuck you.
Screw you, yeah.
Fuck you. Why did you do that to me?
Yep.
And I'm saying that James knows about it because we're probably about 20K away from Snowtown.
It's not far. Yeah, it's probably Snowtown. It's probably like 90 minutes to 2 hour drive north of here.
Yeah. And it's a spooky little place.
Yeah, it's a spooky place. Like some bodies got put in some barrels and in a bank and got left there for quite some time. And the person who did it lived literally about 12 to 15 k's from here. So.
Oh, he did? I didn't know he lived
Yeah,
that
he lived
close.
like Salisbury area. Yeah. And then he took him out there and.
Oh, that was his place. That was his banking place.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where he banked the bodies.
Pretty much.
It's a disturbing film. If you feel like beating yourself up, because that's what it is. It's you don't walk away from this film feeling good.
Yeah.
It's like doing Murph. You walk away and you go, I don't feel good.
Yeah. Well, there's been a few times where I've walked away from work thinking I don't feel so good. Like I think I might die.
Did you? Do you think this workout, that hill run, was one of the worst?
There's bad workouts. Well, not bad. There are workouts that hurt in different ways. There's workouts that mentally hurt you because they take so long and they're grueling through the whole thing. Then there are workouts that and that took around 25 minutes, but that hurt in a different way. That was something that I could continue going. My body wasn't in shock. At the end of the workout, it's like, okay, that was a bad workout because you've had to focus your effort for a long time knowing that you can do it. That makes that workout bad in a way, but not to the shutdown point, whereas that 3-minute workout got me to the shutdown point. The shutdown type of way. Kind of like Aromas with that wall ball GHD hill run that they repeated. Remember we did it in 2016?
Oh, okay.
And it was a repeat from like 2009.
Right.
So you're running up the hill with this wall ball on your shoulder after doing heavy wall balls and 30 GHD sit-ups, and then your legs are going into shutdown, and I face planted. Like, just couldn't keep my body up. Like, it was same sort of deal.
Same thing. Because there's a thing in Pittsburgh. I'm from Pittsburgh in America, and I was just home, and somebody sent me a video of, they call it the Dirty Dozen. It's a bicycle race around Pittsburgh. It's about 50 miles, but you're not racing. You ride to the hills, and then everybody meets at the hill, and they race up the hills. And the hills are anywhere from like quarter mile to half mile. I think the longest one might be a mile. And they race up these hills, and so then you compile your points. So they'll ride as soon as everybody gets there. So you get like a recovery of riding to the next one. Still a 50-mile ride. You get there, and then they're like, all right, on your marks, get set, go. And you're sprinting up these hills.
Yeah.
And Pittsburgh's a very, very, the topography is it's crazy steep hills. So I ended up finding out about this because it was a joke I made about Pittsburgh having the steepest hill in the United States.
Yep.
Paved road, it's 38 degrees, I believe it's called Canton Avenue.
Sick.
Just like 3/4 of the way up the hill, just boom, sideways. And if you're behind them,
too bad.
Sideways. You go too far over the bars and your tires start spinning.
Yep.
You go too far back and you wheelie.
Wow, it's the best.
And so you have to stay over the middle of your bike. All these guys are going, I'm like, I'm going to go do this race. It looks like so much fun.
Yeah.
There's so many people that do it just to do it. I'm like, I'm going to do it. We get there's cones at the bottom of the hill. And my opener that travels with me, I look at him and I go get the cones. I'm like, we're going up this thing.
That's so good.
So we're in a rental car and we just start flying up the hill, and I'm like, holy shit, there's a dusting of snow, and my tires are spinning. I get to the top of the hill, and I'm like, I wonder which way it goes now. It doesn't. Like, there's more cones, and I'm like, oh fuck, we gotta go back down it. I turn around and I look down, and I'm like, oh my god. The bottom of the hill, it tees. It's like it's not an intersection, and there's houses on the other side, and I'm like, well, we're gonna wake them up.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly right. I've seen that happen before, like people trying to walk up really steep inclines with just a layer of ice or something there.
Through somebody's house, and I can't believe people live at the bottom of this hill, and that's probably why the cones are there to tell you not to go up it.
Totally. But
those hills, it's great to watch people. I mean, like nothing like a hill can push somebody to.
They're so underrated. Like if you want to go, if you're that type of person and you want to go do a workout and you want it to hurt pretty bad, just go run a few hills and run them at like 80-90% and
down the hills.
Exactly.
And it was that simple. Mm-hmm. And our coach, when I got to college, I thought it was going to be all this like really technological, state-of-the-art equipment. Yeah. And the coach is like, meet me in the park. Yeah. And I'm like, what park? Flagstaff Hill. And I was like, I used to watch movies there when I was a kid. And then the next thing I know, I was like, oh no, we're going to run up this thing? He's like, yeah, over and over and over and over.
Yep. Yeah, and I think it's so underrated. I think you can get a great workout in 20, 30 minutes just
Yeah.
doing hill sprints.
Yeah.
So good for you.
Even bouldering in Arizona, a lot of people go do Camelback Mountain when they get there. It's like a touristy thing to do, but it's a rough like workout, and the harder you push it, the harder the workout is, and you get to those points where your quads
Yeah.
are just shutting down.
Shutting down, yeah. And that's the same type of feeling that we did it in the Hawaiian trail run when we were over there doing the Hawaii trail run for the foundation for the kids over there.
Was that with David Paradiso? I think David did that run.
Yeah, I want to say I recognize that name, and I reckon he probably did.
Somebody else told me they saw David there. Who was telling me about that? That's who organized that?
So that was the Kiala Foundation, and it was basically Rory Zambard.
Okay.
And Hoffy. They run it together.
Okay. But are they out of a CrossFit gym?
Yeah, so they've got a couple of CrossFit gyms on the island of Kauai. And basically what they do is they...
Yeah, because David was involved, because David owns a CrossFit Kauai.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. There you go. Well, so yeah, basically they run CrossFit programs after school, so they look after them, they can feed them. And so we do this run, and there's this land that hasn't, people haven't been through this place for years and years and years. It's just owned by this guy, and he puts it up for everyone, and you go do this run, and it's 10Ks, but it's a trail run, and then you think, oh yeah, 10K trail run, okay, yeah, cool, that seems okay. We took off, and man, when you think, oh, it's like, this is getting pretty hard, and it's just like, it's not even the worst of it yet. And then you get up, and it's like, you're going up these steep as inclines, and the only thing there is like staircases made out of tree roots, and it's raining, and it's muddy, and it's slipping, and I fell over, no shit, 50 times, like quite hard coming down this thing. I thought I was going to really hurt myself. It took me an hour and 45 minutes. And that
sounds so hard.
It was like there was a point where it was like there was an incline of probably, I would say, about 600 or 700 meters, and it took me so long. I just thought it was never going to end. I just thought I'm never going to get to the top of this hill because I'm going so slow. My quads are cramping, and I'm so not conditioned for this right now.
So when you say you weren't conditioned, do you think it was your nutrition,
At that particular time, I hadn't really been training a lot, so I think I wasn't doing much. I was, just hanging out, probably just, not in the gym, not running, not doing much, probably just doing a bit of surfing or something like that.
Oh, come on, I don't believe you.
Yeah, really? Well, sometimes I go through periods. I think it was just after I had my pterygium removed off my eye, so I had to take a couple of weeks off doing that. So it's probably...
Is that one of those things from the sun off the water?
Yeah. So
explain that, because...
So basically, as a teenager, I spent a lot of time, like we lived, only a few hundred meters from the beach, so I spent a lot of time at the beach, and like my skin complexion and my eyes are quite sensitive to the sun, and basically the reflection off the water, because you don't wear sunglasses while you surf, otherwise you're a kook. This is really weird. Right. So yeah, I used to just get this sun reflection off the water, and eventually it caused a scar tissue build-up on my eye. My eye was trying to protect itself from a bit of sun damage that I was getting, so it creates this thing called a pterygium, which is just like scar tissue build-up.
I've seen it on people.
Yeah, and it looks like you're just high all the time.
Yeah.
Just really red, and then you get like little capillaries in there as well. It didn't affect my sight or anything, but I wanted to get laser because my eyes are really bad, which I'm actually getting tomorrow. But the step process is like for most people that don't have pterygium, you go and get your LASIK done. But for me, mine was so close to the center of my eye, they have to remove my cornea to do the surgery. Oh! And you can't do it with the pterygium there because it's a build up of scar tissue. So as soon as the games was finished,
what year is this?
Just gone.
Oh my god!
So as soon as the games finished, I booked in to get my pterygium removed, and so basically what they do is they sedate you. You're kind of there but not there. I've never actually felt like this before. You're kind of there but not there. They stick they give you this thing.
It's like a local anesthetic.
Yeah, and then they put a needle in your eye, and then they kind of numb it, and then they basically cut the pterygium off, and then they suture it. So they put these they sew it up inside your eye with these things that dissolve, these stitches that dissolve in your eye. Actually, I don't think mine dissolved. I think I had to go back and get them taken out.
Jesus, how do you forget that?
Yeah, I know. Well, it didn't actually hurt, which was good, lucky enough. But yeah, I remember I was lying down and all I could see was white, and I kind of was there, but not really. The only thing I can remember is they said, if anything hurts, just let us know. And I'm lying there and I was like, please don't hurt, please don't hurt, please don't hurt. And then I just felt this pressure on my eye, and then I kind of felt it sting, and I'm just like, fuck, it hurts. I was like, that hurts. And then all I feel is someone just grabbed my arm, and then something went into my arm, and then everything felt great.
It's funny you say that, because people listening to you are like, they watch what you do in workouts and how much pain you can endure, because that's what CrossFit is. And they're like, oh, if it hurt him, what the fuck would it do to me?
Yeah. Oh, dude, it buckled me. And I was just like, oh, that hurts. And then, yeah, the next thing I know, I was just sitting out in the waiting room with this big patch on my eye, and I was like, oh,
it's amazing what that
done.
shit can do to you.
Oh, man.
When they knock you out. I went in to get my wisdom teeth out, and I don't like to be put under. And I watched, they make you watch a video basically telling you can die when they put you under. And I'm like, why are they making me watch this? And they're like, legal reasons. I'm like, yeah, but now it's all I'm fucking thinking about.
Yeah.
So I go, and I've decided day of, screw it, I'm getting them out without being put under.
Yep.
Just give me lots of Novocaine, yank those things out, I can handle it. So I'm sitting there talking to the doctor, and I go, listen, I've decided, and I don't even realize that the nurse is on the side of me while I'm talking to him, and she's like rubbing my arm.
Getting ready to put
And I go like this, I go, look, I've decided that I think I can do this. And
in the chair.
And I go, I'm not going to need to be put on. And he goes, you're going to feel a slight warmth. And I go,
that's the best.
And they just knocked me out. And I was like, I didn't have a say in that.
Well,
and I woke up.
That's the funny thing about getting your wisdom teeth removed. I was having the same issue, and I was like, gotta get my wisdom teeth done. And at the time, I was only probably a year or two into opening the gym, had no money whatsoever. And I had this guy come into the gym one day. Funnily enough, he was a dentist, and he did removals. He did wisdom teeth removals. Yeah. And I said, oh, he goes, oh, I'm a dentist. I was like, oh, man. I was taking him for a PT at the time. I was like, dude, I've got this really sore tooth back here. And he's just like, give me a look. Shawnee's just like, yeah, man, you got to get them taken out. And I was like, oh, I just can't afford it. That's like $1,500 to get them removed. He goes, if you come in on a day where I'm got some time, he goes, I'll take them out for you for flat rate $200. I'm just like, sounds good. He goes, only thing is, we'll just have to do it in the chair, and you don't get any sedatives or anything like that. You just put in a local, and that's it. Oh. I was like, yeah, okay, that sounds good. $200 sounds great. So I go in, and I'm sitting there, and he's just like, okay, so if any of this hurts, you let me know, and I'll put some more in. And so I'm sitting there, and I felt him put these needles all around my mouth, and my mouth is all numb, and then he grabs these pliers, and
I know, it's like pliers.
Shifting my head. My head's just I'm just like, he's like, you okay? Yeah, pliers. It's like I got grease on it out in the mechanics buddy thing, and I'm sitting there, and I'm just like, okay, hopefully this doesn't hurt. And he's yanking at my head, and my head's going like this and this and this. He's like, you okay? I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And then I felt this pop, and he just popped this thing out, and it just one tooth came. Then he went around to this other one, and he was struggling on this one. He said he couldn't shift it, couldn't rock it out. And he's like, I'll come back to it. I'm just like, why is he coming back to it? There's obviously an issue here. There's a big issue, and then I'm going to have to deal with this later. He's going around.
Let me get the hammer and chisel.
Yeah, and then he's going to pull this other one out. And I'm like, mate, that really hurts. And so he gets his needle, and he puts another local in and numbs it down, which is great. And then eventually, after 10 minutes, he gets the other two done, and then he comes back to this one that couldn't be moved. And he goes, oh, look, I'm really sorry, but I'm just going to have to crush it. And I'm just like, okay, do what you got to do. And so
my hands and feet just started sweating.
Yeah, I know.
Crush it.
And so yeah, he couldn't pop it out, because you usually get this like real easy, and then it just comes out. But he couldn't do it, so he just gets his pliers in there and he just crushes it. And I've just felt it in my, just go.
Fuck, that hurt.
I feel it all over my tongue, just all brittle, and then he has to pick all the bones out of your gum. And 2 weeks later, I'm feeling around with the back of my gum, and I felt something sharp in there. I was like, what the hell was that? So I put my hand back there, and I pulled out this thing, and it was like a shard of tooth that was still in there. Like 2 weeks later at a competition that I was doing.
It just came out.
Yeah.
I had a friend that claims he broke his toe or something surfing and never had it fixed.
Yeah.
and it shattered his toe. And he says that slivers of bone still come out through his skin.
Yeah, right.
And he just pulls. And I don't believe him because he also told me he rode a whale. I'm not kidding. He told me. Remember the guy got swatted by the whale
Yes, I
in
do.
Bondi?
Yeah.
A guy swam out to a whale, and it was probably a mother, and she was like, protecting her calves, and it with the tail hit him like a seal. So he claims he saw a seal one day, and he is like lives in the ocean, lifeguard kind of guy, and but he smokes a lot of weed, like a lot of weed. And he said he saw this whale in front of all his friends. He paddled out to it, and the next thing you know, the whale like came up, like breached, and he was on top of the whale, and all his friends called him Whale Rider after that. And so I don't know if I believe his story, but his wife told me that she's like, I wouldn't believe it, but she's like, enough people have told me the story, and I'm like, he's one of those guys where he'll tell me something, and like 50% of the time, I'm like, there's no fucking way this is true. This is a total conspiracy theory, and I can look it up on Google, and I'm like, he's out of his fucking mind.
That's funny.
Oh my god, he was totally right.
So
it's weird when I have these conversations with like when he told me that bones come out through his skin. Somebody will write in and be like, to the Facebook page or the Instagram and be like, no, it's totally true.
Yeah, and someone will say that can't happen.
Yeah, your eye. I went to my eye doctor. Going back to the what's it called again? Pterygium. I wear contact lenses because I have horrible. What's your level?
Oh. I think they are like, it was really bad. It was like,
I'm 0.7.
Yeah, I think mine was 6.
Yeah, so I'm worse. Like I have really bad eyes, and I go, I'm just gonna get LASIK, and my eye doctor goes, I don't know, and I was like, what? And I was like, well, I go surfing. If my contact lens gets knocked out, I'm blind out there. I don't know where to go. He goes, those contact lenses are protecting you. I said, what do you mean? He goes, they protect you from the sun because they're UV, and he's like, everybody else out there is getting blinded from the sun, and he goes, I would stick with it. I've started to get surfer ear.
Yeah, okay.
And I guess you guys don't get it as much down here because you don't have the cold. Yeah, it's kind of cold though.
Yeah, it's reasonably cold, but you won't get anything super bad. Like I get a little bit only middle of winter, but yeah, not if it's summer.
I'm gonna start wearing the plugs. I just bought them. For those of you listening that don't know, so surfer ear is because of the cold air mostly. I believe it's cold air because you get it usually in one ear, which way the wind blows. The inside of your ear canal grows an extosis, I believe it's called, and it's like a bony growth that starts to grow inside your ear, which will trap water and cause infections and all kinds of things. But it can grow to the point where you can't hear it all because it covers up your eardrum. And I was at the eye doctor, and she looks at me. She was just doing, my physical. She goes, "Oh, you surf?" And I was like, "Oh, there must be sand in my ear." So, well, I'm always finding sand. And I go, "Sand in there." And she goes, "No." And I went, "No."
Damn it.
Because it only happens to some people.
Yeah, I think my dad's got that too.
Yeah.
So he'd always struggle with it as well. But
did he have it drilled out?
He had something done, but I don't think he had surgery on it.
Yeah.
But I think he's just managed it and doesn't go in the water as much anymore.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm gonna just start wearing the plugs and try not to get it drilled out.
Yeah. Like I've always wanted, like I've never been able to see great, but I've always, like it's never really caused me much of an issue, but it's just something that for me, for instance, if we're doing an event where we're climbing a cargo net, let's just say having that depth perception is the worst thing for me, not being able to gauge where something would be in terms of where I can grab and things like that. I can get by, I can make it happen.
You wear contact lenses?
No, so...
What?
Yeah, no, I don't wear contacts.
Wait a minute. I know how blind I am, and I'm doing this not for you and I, for people listening right now. If you're close to my blindness, it's like I can only, like if I took my contacts out, I could practically not see your face. I couldn't see if you were smiling, if you were angry.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a blur.
Yeah, like I can see things, I can see objects, but like for instance on the board, like
you drive a car like this?
They said I should wear glasses when I drive a car. That's what they said.
They said.
But I just like sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, and then
your eyes can't be as bad as mine.
Well, they're probably not. I can get by, but like
wait a minute. I'm gonna go upstairs and grab my glasses.
Yeah, okay.
And you tell me if it makes you see like that you're like, oh, I feel great.
Yep.
then you shouldn't drive a car.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be allowed to walk out of your house.
Yeah,
Hold
I
on.
know.
Hold on. Hold on.
Okay.
1 second. This is ridiculous.
This is why I'm getting LASIK. It's for me. It's just being able to see things clearer, and when I put my glasses on and I go outside, I can actually see the trees as 3D, not 2D anymore.
Okay. This is how bad my eyes are.
Well, I can see from here that they're pretty bad. I can see from here that they're pretty bad. Like, and I haven't put them on yet. Yeah, your eyes are pretty bad.
Okay, so mine are a lot worse.
Yes.
Okay.
Yours are a lot worse than mine.
Okay.
I can definitely see a lot clearer without them.
Okay.
I reckon this is probably how you would see without them on, which is very blurry. I can see you, but I wouldn't be able to tell whether you're seeing.
Oh, okay. I thought so. You're nowhere near mine. You can drive. I get it. You can drive a car, and you can. Wait here. Let me see those for a second. So if I put them on with my contacts in, like I can't. That's what I see without them. Yeah. So it's. I was worried. I was like, how the fuck are you getting through life?
No, I can. It's bad, but it's not to the point when I do wear them. But it frustrates my eye because my astigmatism is so strong that it doesn't sit flat in my eye. I tried hard. They said, well, back to 2020.
Yeah.
If I ever had 2020.
I was gonna have it done. I was gonna be one eye than the other because I was afraid. Like, what if I fuck up this eye? I want to still have this one.
Well,
like,
they'll tell me the procedure, and it's like they do a laser cut on your eye, then they remove your cornea, and then you go blind for a period of time.
Yeah. Only for like 2 seconds.
While they do their thing, and then they put it back on. And I was just like, fuck.
Yeah.
And it's like I said, what if I look away? And it's like, you can't look away. Don't worry. That's the question that we get all the time. It's just like they've got this suction cup that goes on your eye, and they've got this like the latest tracking technology to make sure they can see where everything is. I'm just like,
it's amazing. Like on a lot of people in the health and exercise world are very anti-doctor at this point. Not anti-doctor, but like anti-pharmaceutical. Phenomenal what medicine can do.
100%. Like I definitely a big believer in natural ways of healing and breathing practices and visualization and float tanks and all that type of stuff. But when it comes to innovation in making you see better or acute injury or like trauma, you need it. You need it. It's fantastic for that stuff.
Incredible. Incredible how they can heal bones and
crazy.
And like think about somebody with a shattered leg.
Yeah.
When the bones shatter and they put the bones back together and create.
It's pretty insane.
Yeah. It's and I need to stop. I have so many doctor friends. The first thing they do is like, hey, take this pill, and I'm like, fuck off.
Mm-hmm.
But the guys that can put you back together.
Yeah. Pretty exceptional.
I praise you.
Well, we have a guy at the gym, for instance. You'll find this quite interesting. He does this thing. They're working on a program. So basically, if let's just say that you need heart surgery, and your doctor that you want, the best doctor in the world is in America, but I live here in Adelaide. They can put you in a hospital here in Adelaide, and then get him to do the surgery from America in a room that you're not in, but
with a robot
doing what he's doing. That's what they're working on. And so he's
that's insane.
This guy at the gym, he's the one that's doing all the testing and making sure it all works properly.
Wow.
I'm just like, what if there's a power failure?
I was just gonna say.
What if there's an outage?
This is Adelaide. My computer's buffering all the time as it is. Like I see.
Yeah.
Oh, what happened? Why do you have frozen shoulder? Oh, the robot was buffering.
Yeah.
I can't lift my arm above my head now. The computers have done amazing stuff like that. I years ago started seeing how it was like, why would you go to college when you can go to Harvard online and just watch the videos of the professors that are teaching? So, and that's kind of what's happened in life is everybody started just finding experts. Why listen to your buddy down the street tell you about nutrition when you can go online and listen to Rob Wolf, or you can listen to Kelly Starrett talk about physical therapy, and and it happens. I'll go to my physical therapist and he'll start telling me something, and I'm like,
fuck that.
I'm just gonna go home and watch a video,
Yeah,
or I'm gonna call Kelly.
Yeah, totally. Well, I think that's probably more information, or probably more. I don't know whether it's better information, but probably I guess it'd streamline it, but you can get any information that you want so easily accessible these days. It's not like you have to travel to get it.
You see that, Australia's a good place for that. A good example of seeing that, because I always felt like Australia was like 10 years behind America. In, we get it, and then you get it like 10 years later. And now it's like, no, you're getting it maybe 2 months later.
Yeah.
And you see it in everything. And technology, sometimes it's better here because you're so close to Asia, and you're getting a lot of their technology that we're not getting. So, but going to your gym, I saw, you have the float tank, you have the saunas, you have everything that the cutting edge stuff that they're doing in America, you were doing here, and it's just because everything's so readily, globalization made this like readily available.
Totally. I completely agree, and you can even simplify it so much to the fact that when I was in America, I was doing something when I was over there for Under Armour, and I saw all these scooters along the side. I didn't know what it was. I'm like, what are these scooters just sitting here?
Yeah.
And there's like those black scooters and then the green ones, and then the guy that I was with was telling me that you can just go up there and you like tap your phone and then you take them for a ride. I'm just like, really? I'm just like, if that was in Australia, they're just getting dumped in the rivers for fun. They pulled about, I think, 200 bikes out of our Torrens River, literally. Like, that's why they had to can that project. But literally,
let me tell you about that really quickly. So I'm doing a bit about it on stage. I've talked to they've got the Lime scooters here now.
Yeah, I saw you riding one.
I talked to the guy that's running the program, and I said, hey, aren't you worried that they're going to throw them in the Torrens? And he said, well, in Melbourne, they threw them all in the Yarra.
Yeah, they did.
And I said, I thought Australia was this very like pro-environment place, and that they cared about like trying to reduce fossil fuel consumption. He goes, oh, mate. He goes, no, they were Chinese. the scooters were Chinese, and I go, oh, so you're pro-environment, you're just racist.
Yep.
And he's like, oh yeah, mate. He's like, these Lime ones though, they'll make it because they're California and everybody thinks they're cool.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Someone will ride past along the bridge in the Torrens. They'll run out of money. The scooter will stop and they'll think, fuck this, and grab it and just launch it.
Yeah.
Just to see what happens.
I took one the other day on stage. I was doing it in front of the Royal Theatre, and it was a big gala, and I was like, oh, this will be funny. I'll come out on stage on it. So I had locked it up. I rode it to the venue, and I locked it up. And then I was like, oh, I got to take it upstairs. And I pick it up, and this alarm starts going off. I was like, oh, I need to unlock it.
Yeah. And
so I locked it. I go, and I ride it on stage, and I almost crashed. And then I parked it on the side of the stage, did my set. I thought, wouldn't it be funny if during my set, somebody walked in and unlocked it and then drove away?
That'd be so good. That'd be the best. Well, the thing is, like, we didn't have these scooters 6 months ago.
Right.
And I'm just like, I said to Kayla, I got back, I said, they have all these scooters there. You can just pick them up and ride them around town. How cool is that? I was like, we should do that in Adelaide.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, someone's probably already getting into it, and it'll probably be here in 3 or 4 months. And yeah, no shit, 3 or 4 months later, they're all here.
Yep. And I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
In fact, before I even got here, I usually rent a bike to get me like from here to your gym, and which is about about a mile.
2.8 k's.
Yeah. So I was like, why did you run it or something?
No, I GPS it.
Okay. But I was like, I wish they had the scooters. So I Googled it. It's like they're coming. And I was like, when? And sure enough, it was like day 2 that I was here. They launch it, and I was like,
I've seen them all over town. I think they're cool. Funny thing is, like, so we've got a couple of Instagram pages around town. One's called Shit Adelaide.
Oh, I gotta get on that.
Oh man, you would love it. Some of the best shit ever. Like you get a whole bunch of stuff for your station, man. It's like Shit Adelaide. Have you seen Brown Cardigan?
No.
Oh my, Cook of the Day.
I know Cook of the Day.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, Brown Cardigan and Shit Adelaide is kind of like Cook of the Day, but for worldly things, not just surfing stuff. It's fucking hilarious. Anyway, there were these 2 kids riding down. Like I'm running around the block this morning doing a workout, like ridiculous. I was in a bad place. Running around the block, it's 400-meter loop, and these 2 kids would have been 10, 12 years old, somewhere around there, and they had already like retrofitted the scooter with milk cartons so they could sit down and ride them. And I was just like, man, if I had my phone on me, this would have gone straight onto Shit Adelaide, and they would have loved it.
I want to see people jump in them.
Yeah.
Because you have to be able to, and they go like 16K an hour downhill, like 14 on the flat. And I'm thinking at 16K, if you build a jump, you're going to be able to get some.
Yeah, you could get some height, I reckon.
Yeah, and I
I
want to
think
see.
that's probably on the card. Someone will do it. Yeah.
So I've got a friend, Iman. You've probably seen him around town. He's like 41 pounds. I don't know what that is in K, but he's
light.
He's so light. He's like 20K about.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I'll show you. Well, I can't because we're streaming. He's this tall.
Wow.
He's There's only two people in the world that have what he has, and it's him and his sister, and it's named after his sister.
Yeah, right.
And it takes it's a genetic thing that only 1 in 7 million people have, and if both parents have it, the kids and randomly
both parents
had it. So he's tiny, and he always rides around on a scooter, but not an electric one. And I said, we got to get you a scooter. He goes, yeah, they can't make one that with the battery because it'll drag. And I was like, no, we got to get you one because it'll be even funnier than watching you scoot around, watching you on an electric one. Because when he goes by you, you're like, did I just see a squirrel? like he's that little. He's teeny. I've gotten him shit-faced drunk before. Had to carry him home like a baby.
Wow.
And he's a great dude, and he's a really funny guy. His name's Iman. You'll see him around town.
Yeah,
it was
I hope to.
It was like Quentin who passed away.
Yeah. He was. I was seeing him buzzing around town as well.
I mean, you grew up probably seeing him your whole life.
Pretty much, like he would be around Adelaide. So in our old gym when we moved, before we moved, on Gilbert Street, he would come up and down Gilbert Street every other day.
Yeah, Quentin is this guy that was famous in Australia because they did a documentary film about him when he was a young kid because his lifespan was not supposed to be. He was not. He probably died at 40 some years old.
Yeah, it was only a few years ago.
Yeah, and he was not supposed to live long because he had brittle bone disease, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And I don't want to sound callous, but he looked like a head in a wheelchair.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's pretty much what it was. And you're like, when I first met him, I was making jokes about him on the radio, and he showed up at the radio station.
Oh, really?
And I was like, oh, fuck. So he came on the radio with me. And they were like, you're going to talk shit on him. Here he is. And I wasn't talking shit on him. I just said that when you go to a different city, like you go to New York, you see the Eiffel Tower, the Statue of Liberty, you go to Paris, you see the Eiffel Tower. And I finally saw Adelaide's iconic.
Yep.
And it's Quentin.
Yep.
And so I ended up kind of befriending the guy and talking to him over the years. And it was just astounding that he was able, talk about adversity and handling life when you're dealt some shitty cards.
Mm-hmm.
He was a fucking head in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And you'd see him everywhere, just motoring around.
I vaguely remember maybe he was even on for a short period of time on Our Big Brother.
Yep.
I think.
Yeah.
I believe that was how he got caught.
They're like, he's an arrogant fucker. I'm like, he's a head in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Let him do whatever the fuck he wants.
Yeah, it never really bothered me too much.
Yeah, he was a good dude. He always came to my shows, and I used to do a joke about a guy, Superman in a wheelchair, like wearing a Superman outfit in a wheelchair. It's an old joke. And he showed up at one of my shows wearing a little Superman outfit, and I was like,
nice.
You have a Superman.
Yeah, that's so good. So good.
So let's change gears a little bit. What are you doing to train now that you've made it into the games, but you still have to do well in the Open,
correct,
so that you seed well.
Yeah.
If that is even true.
Well, we'll play it that's the case. So yeah, basically now, like I'm working, like things that have let me down in the past, and it's not that I haven't worked on getting stronger or anything like that. Some of my lifts are good for what they need to be, and some aren't. Like for instance, my deadlift is good, but it's probably because I got long arms. But my snatch isn't comparable, and my clean isn't comparable, and my back squat isn't comparable, my strict press isn't comparable. So working on those strength elements that have let me down at the games before is what I'm working a lot on now.
What's your top finish? Would you 12?
18th. 18th. So basically, now that I have such a long period before the games to prepare, and that'll diminish very quickly. Like I'll say it's a long period, and then I'll wake up and I'll be like, shit, we've got the games in a month. So now's the time to work on the things that have floored me at the games, as much as possible.
And who's coaching you, doing your program?
Michelle Tondra.
Okay.
Like I've seen and met Michelle over the last few years at the Invitational, at the games. I get along really well with Pat Vellner. He's a funny dude.
And he trains with her too.
And yeah, he gets coached by Michelle. And
Why did you decide to? You were working with Big Bobby D. Why did you decide to switch over to Michelle?
yep. So I was working with Bob, and look, I still like. I was chatting with Rob this morning. Like we still get on really really well. But I've been training and being coached by Rob for 4 years. It just kind of got to the point where I just wanted to, just to change the scenery. It was nothing against him or his
Right.
programming or anything like that. I think he's a beast, like we're actually going to go do this tethered race together next month, where it was like 37K run and a 7.5K swim, where we're tethered with a.
Fuck that.
So we were going to go do that, but he fell off his bike and broke his bone
Oh,
off his
and
elbow
Yeah.
and lost his tricep up into the back of
Yep,
his shoulder
that happens
again.
to a lot of people.
Yeah, he did it again, and he only had elbow surgery like a month ago.
That happened to James Townsend.
It's the worst.
Yeah, I broke it too. I broke the olecranon, but mine just chipped off, and kind of the tricep pulls it like that.
Yeah.
And then I just had to be braced, and it came back together.
Well, he
but-
finished the race after he did this. Like he
He's
was
a
in.
fucking maniac. Yeah, but mine didn't coil up like that can
Yeah.
happen. Like
He
that's bad.
He said it was painful. He said it was probably the most painful injury he's had.
Oh fuck.
So we're not doing that race, but I guess getting back to your question is, yeah, I just wanted to change the scenery. I just wanted to change it up a little bit.
Why'd you choose Michelle?
So after that, I was training with Tia and Shane. Like I wasn't at the particular time. I just didn't want to train. For some reason, after the games, I just didn't want to train.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
I was just like, you know what? I just want to go to Mentawais and surf,
Yeah.
and that's all I want to do. I don't want to do anything else. I just want to just live like a regular life just for a little period of time.
As you should.
And I just got over it, and I was just like, you know what, Caleb, I'm not competing anymore. And I don't know. I think I was having just like a child fit
A
you
burnout.
Mm,
A
yeah.
little bit of a burnout.
probably to that point. And I literally didn't start training until a week before the Open last year, like from the games.
And so it was probably a good thing because you did well.
Well, yeah. So like, I remember saying to Caleb, like, I don't think I'm going to do it, and only because I don't know. There was something. Every day I'd wake up the night before, I'd lie in bed and think, yep, I'm going to go train tomorrow. I feel good. I'd wake up the next morning, like, I don't want to do it, and I don't know why. Like it was just something that was out of balance, and I was just, if I was feeling that way about it, this was leading into Christmas, then I wasn't going to have a very successful season if I forced myself.
Right.
So I was just like, I got on the phone and chatted to a few people and sort of got their opinion on it, and a lot of people's opinion that I respect, and they were just like, if you're feeling this way, man, like you need to change something up. And I was like, okay. So I ended up telling like Rob that like I'm not really training. I don't know what I want to do. I don't know whether I'm going to compete. I don't know if I just want to go, do some things that I enjoy, like maybe hit some triathlons or whatever. And so like I basically just stopped getting programming from him. Like we'd still chat and stuff like that, but not as occasionally.
Do you base your gym's programming on him?
Yeah, so he
Yeah.
does program for
Yeah.
my gym, and he will always continue to, because I think what he does is great, and our members love it.
It is great.
Yeah, and our members love coming in and doing the workouts.
And it looks on paper like the hardest thing you're ever going to do in your life, and you get through it somehow. You're like, okay, I hit everything. I'm checking all the boxes. I'm not missing out on
Yeah,
anything. I'm
yeah.
getting my strength. I'm getting my conditioning. I'm getting my endurance. I'm getting my stamina. Like every little aspect, you're hitting all the body parts, and
Yeah.
it's great.
It's different to old school CrossFit programming where you walk in and you've got
I should put a plug in too. So if you want to check out his programming, that's at Raw
strength conditioning.
Strength and Conditioning.
Yeah.
Different from Raw Athletics. Raw Strength and Conditioning, and it's Big Bad Bobby D.
Yep. So after that, I had been competing with Tia at the Invitational the last couple of years, and I got along really, really well with her. And we'd spoken about doing some training together prior to that, and we hadn't eventuated it from November, like literally during.
Is she in Wollongong? Where is she?
No, she was in Gladstone.
Where's Gladstone?
It's about a 5-hour drive north of Brisbane.
Oh, okay. She's way up
Queensland,
there.
yeah, hot.
Flood area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And basically during that off season, I didn't do any training. Then I got a call up after the thing came out with Ricky and said, "Hey, do you want to step in?" Because I was going to coach that team at the Invitational.
Okay.
And they said, "Can you step in to take that spot?" and to compete with Rob and Cara and Tia.
And Ricky tested positive.
Correct. And I was like, oh shit. I said, I can do it. Whether I'm going to be good or not is a different story because I haven't trained since the games. So I was like, I don't want to let the team down. So I literally spent a week before we got together and then a week together just smashing myself, trying to, blow out the cobwebs and get my lungs working again. And, it was fine. Like, we did well, we won, so it was good.
Yeah.
Like, we did okay. Like, I could hold my own, but I hadn't trained. I think I was doing some crit races at the time, so I think I was getting on the bike once a week, and then I didn't do any gym sessions. And then after that, like, I was like, oh, this might be the motivation I need to get back into training, because I had a blast. Like, it was the most fun I've ever had a competition in my entire life.
He's doing the team thing.
Yeah, 100%. That invitational in Melbourne, by far the most fun we've had.
Yeah.
Because we got to hang out as a group, we all got on really, really well, and we competed really well, and yeah, it was fantastic. And I got home and I was just like, all right, let's go train. And then I was like, don't want to do it. I don't know what happened. I was like, I didn't want to do it. So I didn't train up until the week before the Open started. Hence my real shitty placing in the first week of the Open last year. And a week before the Open started, I said to Kat, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm not ready. I can't do this. Like, I'm not in any shape to do the Open. And she goes, fuck it. I'm calling Tia and Shane. And so she called Tia and Shane and said, can James come up there? I'll book him a flight tomorrow morning to come up there and train because he's not training. Can he come stay for 2 weeks? And they said, yeah, we'd love to have him. So she comes back to me and says, tomorrow morning I booked you a flight to Gladstone. You're going to go up there and you're going to train. You're going to do the Open for 2 weeks while you're there. I haven't booked your return flight, but you're going to stay there until you feel good. I was like, okay. So I got on the plane, like, quite hesitant because I felt really unfit, really weak, really shit. Got there, probably wasn't as bad as what I envisioned. Like, we were doing some back squats on the first night I got there, and 150 kilos, and felt okay. We were doing like sets of 3 or 4 or 5 or something like that. Felt fine, but we had the Open in a week, and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to go at this. And then the first workout was that 20-minute rowing, dumbbell, hang clean, and toes to bar workout. 20-minute AMRAP, flogged me. Did the workout by myself because Tia was down on the Gold Coast for a day doing the workout down at Reebok CrossFit Gold Coast. So I did it by myself in her gym while she was gone. The next morning on Sunday, Shane rings us because Shane went to a weightlifting competition that weekend. A weightlifting seminar. And he said, Tia, James, your scores are shit. They're not going to do well. You got to do it again.
Oh.
So we're just like, fuck. So, like, at that particular time, I was ranked like 180.
Yeah.
And Tia's wasn't as bad as mine. Like, hers was actually pretty good. But, so, yeah. 2 hours before the close-off happened, we had planned training. We were warmed up. We were about to start our morning's training, and he said, screw it, you got to do the Open workout again. And I haven't done an Open workout twice since like 2014 or something like that.
I can imagine.
And I was just like, fucking hell, Shane. Tia was saying the same thing, so I was like, all right, let's do it. So I went first, and Tia's just like, James, I'm going to have to really push you here, because if you don't get a better score, you're not going to make it back to regionals. I was like, okay. So from like minute 2 of this 20-minute AMRAP, I'm already redlined. Like, I'm already so big.
Have you ever worn a heart rate monitor just to see what's happening?
Yeah, like, I've like maxed my heart rate out recently, like in recent years, at like 186, and that's in the hole really bad. Like,
and that's where I am all the fucking time.
Yeah, that's like, I haven't had it at 186 for quite a while. Like,
I'm older than you,
yeah.
but 186 is about my max. 184, 185.
Yeah, mine's about in the same spot. If I can get to 180, I'm working real hard.
Yeah. My problem is I'm up there a lot.
Yeah. See, I'll average in a tough like 9 out of 10 workout. I'm at about 160, 165.
Wow, I wish. I mean, that's what I have to start. And for people listening out here, that's what I have to start realizing. That guys like you are at 160. So my 160 is going to slow me down and make me scale my weight so much more to stay there. That's where I should be, knowing, like, I shouldn't be redlining all the time. Like that. And that's what a lot of people, I think, are doing wrong.
100%. I think there's a lot of merit to long, really relaxed pieces, like 90 minutes to 2 hours. Go for a bike ride. Keep your heart rate at like 120 beats a minute, and then other times go and sprint. Just do like sprint repeats for 20 minutes. Right. And that center point where you're just hanging on to that 90%, chronically all the time, I think that's probably where people get burned out.
I think that's changing. I think right now, especially like you see a lot of interval training, a lot of people saying, "Hey, get back to doing the long, slow distance." I think that's changing. There's evolutions of this business, and it's funny how when it hits in one place, it almost hits everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like an epidemic where everybody will switch from outlaw to this, to the breathing, to the, and I feel like we're there right now where everybody's doing a lot of interval training, but a lot of like, hey, this recovery and this pacing yourself and getting away from that redlining all the time. I think there was way too much burnout.
Yeah, and I agree with that completely. Like, I know I feel better if I can get out and go for a longer bike ride, a longer paddle, a longer swim each week, a longer run, whatever it might be, but add that into the mix of everything else that I have to do.
Yeah.
And I do feel good from that, and it's like, you know, you're training yourself metabolically to be able to recover better. Like, if you're a more efficient metabolizer, you're gonna function better, you're gonna have better oxygen supply, you know, it's gonna carry better, and you're gonna be able to supply your body what it needs to be able to repair properly. So I guess getting back to your question, I did the Open with Tia and Shane. I did the first week of the Open with Tia and Shane. Knew I needed to work real hard, so I stayed there. Did the second week there. Did the third week there. Said I don't want to go home yet. They say stay another week. Did the fourth week there. It's like just finish it off. Did the fifth week there. I ended up staying there for like 6 weeks, and it was great. Had a really good time. It was like a 6-week intensive training camp, and by the end of that 6 weeks, from feeling probably the most unfit that I've felt in a long time, to being literally feeling the fittest I've felt in a long time.
That's great.
In 6 weeks. And then I went home for about a month and then went back and then did the lead up to the regionals with them as well. And I was just following what Tia was doing. Like, I didn't want Shane to modify too much for me. Like, he would if I needed to.
Does he do all her programming?
Yep.
Okay.
And then he'll get pointers here and there if he wants to. You know, he's a big believer on, you know, further educating himself. He doesn't think that he knows everything, so he'll go out and search, and then he'll put it into the way that he wants for her program. And so I spent more time with them leading into regionals, and then we had a great regionals together, and then we did a whole lead up to the games together as well. We spent some time in Cookville, and that was amazing. And then when Tia decided to, so we had a bit of a break after the games, and then when I wanted to get back to training, Tia had moved to Cookville, where she is now, so she's living in Cookville.
So funny how that's become this
it's like Mecca.
It's like the Bat Cave.
Yeah,
where they're all like hanging out and doing this it's like a secret lair.
Yeah.
That, you know, like, let's see how elite we can get.
Yes, exactly.
But it's weird because usually people have, if you're a competitive athlete, it's like you want to go train and you don't want anyone to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
They're going, no, if you're really good, come train with us and we're all going to get
it's
much better.
Yeah, and I think you want to be around, you know, elite fitness when you are elite. Like, that's it. You want to be able to be pushed. And basically from then on,
when you get there to Cookville, is everybody doing the same workouts, or is everyone doing their own shit?
Yeah, most people are doing their own stuff to an extent. Like, people have their own things that they need to work on. Maybe the basis, like the basis of it, you can jump in and you can do a bit of this and a bit of that, and you kind of, you're to and fro. It's like, oh, we're going to hit this like tomorrow. Do you guys want to join in? It's like, yeah, that sounds good. That kind of fits with what we're going to do.
Where do you stay while you're there?
We stayed. Where did we stay? Oh, we stayed at like an Airbnb.
Right.
But then we did a lot of training in like Richards Barn and then at Mayhem and things like that. It was cool.
Swim in his lake?
We did. Yeah, we went up to Senior's place. So we actually did this workout, and it was like a ride from Rich's place. So
on bikes?
Yeah. From Junior's place up to Senior's place, jump in the lake, hit 3 laps of his lake, jump out, run down to the church and back, which is like a 5k run back, jump in the lake, hit 3 more laps, jump out, jump on the bike, ride out, ride back, jump back in the lake, hit more laps, jump back on the bike and ride back down. It took like 90 minutes, something like that. It was pretty rough. It was good. It's super fun, but that type of stuff I love doing. I just love being outside and training outside as much as I can, so I can get the sunlight. I can get that sunlight to, you know, help me produce energy, charges my batteries, makes me feel good. So if I can do anything outside, I will. So we did that whole lead up to the games. After the games, when all these sanction events got released, we didn't know what was going on. So we didn't know the good thing. The reason it worked training with Tia and Shane is because, like, I think we mix really well. I'm not saying for people not to ask questions, but I don't ask questions. If someone says we're doing this, I'm like, sweet, let's do it. Like, I don't want to beat around the bush. I'm not going to waste time. Like I'm just like if
That's smart.
like I just think if someone is giving you advice and they like just do it. Like don't ask questions. Like you save yourself some time, save the energy of them trying to have to explain about what it's for. Like I remember we finished training one night at like 8 o'clock, and we thought we were finished. And then we get in the car and Shane says, "Oh guys, we're just gonna stop off somewhere." And I was just like, "Oh shit!" And he must have done this to Tia before. We got out to this place called Spinnaker Park, and he goes, "Oh, we're running 13Ks tonight." I'm just like, "It's like we just finished a double session day, and we're fucked." And he's like, "Okay, we're running 13Ks." I didn't ask any questions. Like, "All right, let's go, let's do this." That's how it should be. It's just like you don't say, "Oh, are we doing too much? Are we doing this?"
It's great when it's great when you have a good coach.
100%.
If your coach, if you can put your faith in them and say, I'm just going to do what this guy says. Because I've been, my elsewhere, I'm like, does this guy know what he's saying? And it's just like, you know what? This guy's produced world champions, gold medal winners, world record holders. I need to shut the fuck up and just do what he says. And once you take that out of it and take your head out of it, you're like, all the second guessing, you're like, I'm going to do my part, which is work as hard as I can. I'll let him do his part, which is coach me and train me.
Yeah, that's it. And I think there's a lot to be said for people that listen a lot more than they talk, especially when it comes to training. Sometimes it's better just to not talk and just do the things that you're being told to do.
We're all experts and we're all going, well, I think, and I heard this, and this can do this, and it fucks you up in a lot of ways.
In my personal opinion, in how I've kind of approached my training, since as long as I can remember, I've always benefited from just doing what I'm told.
Yeah.
Just do what you're told, and see how you go. Give your best effort. That's it. So, I guess leading on from that, so when the sanction events got released, we didn't know because Tia was living in Cookville. She just moved to Cookville. I was living in Adelaide. Prior to that, we were training for the Open at the same time. We were training for the regionals that we were both competing in. We were training for the games that we were both competing in. And it really worked. He didn't have to modify anything for me. I would just do exactly what Tia did, with slight modifications to stuff that I needed to work on a little bit more, whatever it may be, and we could just do that on the fly. But leading into sanctionals, Tia's getting ready for Waterpalooza, and he would have to structure a whole new program just for me so I could peak at the right time for the right event. And I can understand how that would be a burden on the energy that he would input then into Tia. And we spoke about it, and I'm completely fine with it because I understand. I'm not at all, hurt by it or anything like that. But he was just like, "Oh, I think my energy and focus needs to be put into Tia to make this happen." Like it worked really well because I was training with Tia every day, and then we would talk pretty much every day when I wasn't with him about the stuff that we did on that day because it was exactly the same. So I said, "That's cool. Look, I'll find someone who into this season." And I was sitting back just having to think about it. I wasn't putting any pressure on because I think I was having my eye surgery done and stuff like that. And then I just, I thought of Pat and I thought of Michelle, and I thought, every time I see Michelle, she's so lovely, she's super nice, she's obviously shown that she knows how to program fantastically because she's had fantastic results with guys at the games.
Who else she had do well? Vellner?
Pat Vellner and Laura Horvath.
Okay, yeah.
And Willie George.
Okay.
Willie Georges.
And then Bobby D was working you and Fikowski?
Yep.
Okay, is he still working on Fikowski?
I believe Fikowski's with Brute now.
Okay.
And I think he just needed to change the scenery as well.
Right.
And I think every athlete gets to that point where they just want to change the scenery and just change things up because I've been doing this 8 years.
Yeah, it can get boring.
And I was just like, I just want to change something up.
Yeah.
If I just continued on that, the only way you can go and compete at regionals in the games is if you had to train by yourself. I'd be like, fuck that. You're like, I would just go surfing. I wouldn't do it. I only do it because I enjoy doing it and I enjoy sharing the fitness and fun with friends and making up cool workouts. When we get an outdoor session, it's like, okay, I want you to go. If Michelle says I want you to go swim in a lake somewhere and I want you to, structure some like a little triathlon or something, I was like, hell yeah, give it to me, because I love that stuff and I love taking 5 or 6 people next to the lake and we can bike ride.
I make fun of the community all the time because guys used to talk about this on the show, but that's where it does come in that it's really cool. Like I brought my promoter to your show or my promoter from my show to your gym.
Yep.
She's like, I love the people there, and that is what's great about it. That you can walk into your gym and go, hey, I'm gonna go do this. Who wants to go?
100%.
And there's 20 guys that are like, I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds really cool.
Yeah.
What time? Where?
Yeah, it's about using the fitness and sharing it and having a good time and being social.
Yeah.
And that's the whole joy in doing it. And if I didn't have that joy, it definitely wouldn't have made me do what I did last year. Was an improvement. Like I wasn't, stoked about my result. Like I wasn't stoked about 18th. Like I would rather see myself in the top 5. Some of them aren't so much fun, but you got to do the hard work as well.
Right.
You can't just bypass it and do all the fun shit.
Right.
Like you got to do the grunt work, and you got to do the endless back squats, and you got to do the endless snatch repeats and complexes and thrusters and all that stuff. You got to do them. If you don't do them, you don't put your effort as much into them, you won't do well. Simple as that. But then, like, I thought of Michelle, contacted Michelle and said, hey, still in contact. Like, I still chat with Bobby, I still chat with Tia and Shane. There'll probably be times where I'll go catch up and I'll train with Tia and Shane at some point. I'll probably go train with Bobby from time to time. But like no one's programming for me at the moment, and I love what you've obviously done with Laura and Pat. I love seeing what he does. She's so good. She's so thorough, and I feel like it's so well rounded. Like it's giving me everything I need.
Right.
So started working with Michelle. Absolutely loved it. Still working with Michelle now. We'll be working with Michelle all the way lead up to the games and beyond. I'm training with her.
Now, for those people out that are wondering, is it expensive to hire a coach?
It's not the most expensive thing in the world. I would say like Dolph, she coaches my cousin and she coaches another guy from the gym. So we're all bundled into one thing.
Oh, you have another. I know your cousin's a top female.
So Simone.
Simone's ridiculous. She like started it. She did it like one day, and the next day she like made it to the regionals.
Yeah. So she picks things up very fast, and I said to her right at the beginning, and she took it really well. She's like, "Hey, you're not going to have a long time to get good at this. You got to get good at it like tomorrow." Like I said, I see you out there working on your kipping pull-ups. It's fantastic. Hammer them down, and then but within next week, I want to see you being able to link butterflies together, and then the week after that, you need to get a muscle up. Like you got to have to, because if you don't get a muscle up in the next month, she got a muscle up.
That's amazing.
In a couple of weeks.
Do you watch that? Like muscle ups are such an important part of games. They're always in some way or some form.
Yeah.
I'm watching a lot of gymnastics guys that like these calisthenics Instagrams and stuff like this, where these guys do them so effortlessly with such perfect gymnastic movement that I'm like, it seems like CrossFitters are missing out on that, where if they went and learned gymnastics a little more fluidly, they could take so much effort out of it, and it wouldn't be a muscle up any longer. It would be just like a technique. I mean, I'm watching guys that it doesn't even look like their arms bend.
Yeah.
That their kip is so good and so fluid that they are straight up overhead, and like they did that easier than I do one chin to bar pull up.
Yeah.
Like it's just so easy.
Yeah, I've seen those guys like the calisthenic dudes and the park gym dudes doing them super smooth and super easy, and like fuck, they're amazing. They look great, and I think there's definitely merit to a lot of people learning how to do them better. Like definitely learn. If you don't have the technique down pat, you're not doing them properly. Obviously, figure out how to get them better, and go maybe spend some extra time doing it. I just wonder how much time it would take
to get that
get that person to then look like them, and by the time that they get there to make them look like that, how much has their back squat gone down?
Right.
How much has their running gone down? How slow is their mile time?
Sure.
That'd be the thing I'm sure about.
But it's like, if you're a good runner, and you, like Connor always says to me, I don't have to run. He won't run for 6 months. He's like, it's not going to go away.
Yeah.
I've got it.
Yeah.
He's like, so now it's time to work on this, and this.
Sure.
And I often feel like the gymnastics part of it, never is a guy going to come in from gymnastics and just walk in and be great CrossFitter, because he's got to get all his lifts and everything else. And we know that that's something that you've got to constantly work at your strength.
Yeah.
Because it's just a matter of incrementally
getting
better and
getting
better.
stronger.
And it's an incremental thing. Whereas these are almost like party tricks.
Yeah.
Where if you can learn the party trick and get it I watch these muscle ups and I'm like, that guy could come into one of those like muscle up swim,
Yeah.
and probably beat everyone.
Yeah, if he could swim decently,
Yeah,
you know,
decently.
yeah, he probably could do quite well.
And it's one of those things that I feel like the I don't know. I just feel like nobody's spending enough time with.
Yeah.
You have to spend the time with the weights.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
And you've got to condition yourself for your lungs and your heart.
Yeah.
Pump the blood. But
what I think about a lot with the games is the skewing of what you need to be good at. Like, is there ever, if we look at its entirety, and I'm sure people have gone through this and looked at it, but
any question ever about what percentage? Or
yeah, because I would like to see like how much of the game strength and how much of the games is based around how good you are at gymnastics, or how much of the games is based around how good you are at outdoor triathlon style events. Like, and what is the optimum? Because what we're looking for is a test that broadly tests someone, but you don't want it to then come down in the end. He's great.
He's mega strong.
Mega strong, mega fit. He's just good at everything. That's the good.
He is good at everything, but let's be honest. His strong suit.
Yep.
Is Olympic weightlifting.
Yep.
And then he goes off and wins the run. So is not CrossFit like if you were to say, if we brought in 3 guys starting out and we said, bring in this Olympic weightlifter, we're bringing in this top sprinter, 100-meter dash guy, or 400, we always say like 400, 800, 400-meter guy, who's got the bulk, he's got some bulk, but he's also can keep it going and he's fluid and everything. And we start them out from square one.
Yeah.
And we start them training.
I'd like to chuck in a triathlete in there as well.
I'm just worried about the triathlete being a little too
weak.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
And then we train them all for a year.
Yeah.
And we come back a year later and we see who's the best CrossFitter. I have a feeling it's going to be the Olympic weightlifter.
I agree. Back in the day, Greg Glassman said it'd be the gymnast, but
I would have thought that too. Like when I was in college and we all trained, all the sports all trained in the same weight room with the exception of football. So it was basketball, wrestling, track, soccer. We all used the same weight room.
I think it's
and the gymnasts were freaks.
If we look at all of those sports, then you look at the things that take the longest to get good at.
Yeah.
Well, normally.
Yeah.
It's just like for the weightlifter, you don't start getting that, that bulk strength until later on. For the sprinter, usually these sprinters these days, they don't come out of the womb slow. Like they're quite talented to begin with, and then they just perfect it. So I think the thing that takes longest to get good at a period of time of a head start. Does that make sense?
Sure.
And you can put together a pull up and you can put together a muscle up. You can do those.
So
things.
in knowing that, is that where you focus the most of your time on the Olympic lifts?
Well, that's what I suck at the most. So
yeah,
that's what I have to. Yeah, but I do put a lot of time in. Yeah,
you're one of the smaller guys.
Yeah. Like I'm 88 kilos. 192. 192. So
and how tall are you?
177.
5'9". 5'9". Yeah.
So
you're still a little bit smaller.
Yeah, I would say maybe just a little bit, but
5-10 pounds.
Yeah, maybe something like that. But then again, like it does, but yeah, it's something that like trying to build the extra strength and getting really good at the Olympic lifts has taken me probably longer. It's like, for instance, let's look at it like this, or if I was to set up a program from like if I was to, for instance, as a kid, if I was to set up a program and do the exact same stuff for my handstand push-ups and the exact same stuff for my pull-ups, at the end of a 6-week program, my pull-ups would have advanced more than my handstand push-ups would have advanced. So it's like something like that takes me longer to get good at with the same amount of effort and programming. So if I was to go out and run or swim, like my swimming has gotten so much better.
Surfer and also just being, an Aussie, you guys take your swimming a little more serious than...
Yeah, like I never did competitive swimming, never did anything like that. I mucked around with like surf lifesaving as a kid. We did boards and stuff, but I hated swimming. I didn't hate it. I didn't hate swimming. I loved being in the water, but I was never very good. I wasn't a fast swimmer or anything. I could not drown. Like I could keep myself afloat. Right. But I love surfing, and it never really translated so much. It's just until I actually got in the pool and hit some laps and had to
right. Down. Yeah, it's a different surfing and swimming. Surfers are usually good swimmers. However,
it's a different thing.
Very
It's
different.
completely different. You're
Yeah.
rotating your body where you're not rotating.
Breath control.
I've had a big breath control is a big thing, and I've had a big argument with Armin about the swimming, and I still think that's most CrossFitters' weakness.
Yeah.
And as much as they train, and I guess real runners, guys that can go out and run a fast 10K, probably look at CrossFitters and are like, you guys are shit.
Yeah, 100%.
And I'm not a real swimmer, but grew up doing competitive swimming and all this stuff, and I look at CrossFitters like that's the only thing, like competitive CrossFitters, that I could actually, in my day,
Yeah.
feel like I'm comparable to CrossFitters,
Yeah.
or even could beat
Yeah,
guys.
you'd beat most. Of course.
And to me, that shouldn't be happening.
Yeah.
That I just keep thinking. I don't care how dense you are, your muscle fiber. I don't care how you could also do. It just seems to me with how good you are at gymnastics, how good you are at Olympic weightlifting, how good that they should be better at swimming.
Well, and I guess that comes back to my point of the skewing. It's just like you see a barbell multiple times at the games. Why don't we see multiple swim events at the games?
Yeah.
Why don't we see, multiple
Right.
bike rides at the games?
It's a good point. Yeah.
Like that's the type of skewing I'm talking. And I'm not saying change the games to suit me because that's stuff I like. But what I'm saying is, do we see the strength or the barbell, or do we see the gymnastics and the muscle ups or whatever it may be?
Well, I always, from day one, I thought there's too much weightlifting in it, because when I got into it, it was cross fitness. I want to be able to run up a mountain. I want to be able to swim across. I want to be able to ride a bike. I want to be able to lift a weight. I want to be able to climb something. I want to be able, and so CrossFit was the closest thing to that. And then all of a sudden, it became weightlifting, and people's argument was the weightlifting is going to get you better at everything else, which there is some truth to.
There's some truth to it, for
And-
sure. But maybe they condense down the events. You don't have so many events for the people that if there's let's just pick a number, and I'm not saying this is correct or anything, but let's just say there's 15 events. 2 of them are longer aerobic ones.
Yeah.
4 of them are more gymnastics based, short capacity, whatever they are, and then the other 7 are more weightlifting predominant. Why don't you just bring it down to like 10 events and just have them all even or something like that?
I mean, look, if you look at the Broken Skull Challenge, what Hunter did,
Yep.
that event, I looked at that and I'm like, wow, there's almost everything in that,
Yep.
with the exception of any kind of lifting,
Yep.
any kind of heavy weight,
Yep.
maybe pushing those things, but that's not even enough. That was the only thing missing from that. But I've always said, like, why make these guys to find the fittest man in the world? Why not do one event instead of, why does it have to be 10 events, or why does it have to be?
Well, yeah. Then I guess you could look at those Spartan races that have the pit stops where you got to lift some weights and then.
Oh, the new one, the X, is it Tough Mudder X? It's the 1 mile race.
Yeah,
Where it's,
something
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
But
Where,
that's probably not long enough, I guess.
I think Vellner did it. What's
Yeah.
his name?
Yeah, Paddy did it.
The guy who, the guy whose arms were too long to do, or too
Jacob
long.
Hebner?
Jacob Hepner did
Yeah.
very well on them too.
Yeah.
And it's a good example.
Hmm.
It's a good example. It's
I guess it's hard. Like at the end of the day, you're always going to have someone criticizing how the events are structured and all that type of stuff. I guess we just have to be good at what we're given. And at the end of the day, like for people like Matt, I think whatever's given to him, he's going to excel at. And don't get me wrong, everyone that goes to the games is very fucking fit.
Yeah.
But then again, there might be a year for someone that has been to the games and done, say they've done well over the last 3 years, they could get, and maybe the programming's just been kind of spot on. They could get a year where they just do bad because there's just the program's not quite right.
I think it's there's too much that hold up here, because it's this this wiggles sometimes.
Sure.
There's too much that when you're going to do enough events, you're going to weed that out, and that's why Fraser wins it, because if it was just one event, it could be just not in his wheelhouse.
Totally.
But if you've got enough events, but I think if you made a long enough event, like a long enough course, where he's going to get to use all his attributes of fitness, the best guys are still going to win that.
Sure.
I forget how he did. Remember the event that was the last year where you guys had to carry the dummy,
Yep.
climb the. That's probably right in your wheel. Didn't you win that? Did you win
I
that?
won my heat.
Okay.
I think I finished 5th
Okay.
overall, and that was brutal in a sense. I remember coming back on the run, on the 1.2k run, heavy, like quite out of breath, but it wasn't the worst workout in the world.
No.
But see, that stuff is quite good for me. Like
Yeah.
2.4k's running in a workout's always going to be okay for me. So that was a very fun event. That was one of my favorites. But that was
fun to watch.
Yeah, it was a cool event. Like I think it was a very decent mix of a lot of things. Like you drag a dummy, you climb a rope, you run 1.2k's, you go through an obstacle course, then you do it again.
Yeah,
Right.
it's fun. It's fun. I'm wondering what we're gonna see in this. I mean, or how much we're gonna see. Going back though, the first couple games, not the ones at the ranch, but once it left the ranch and was first in the Staples Center or whatever it was, not Staples, whatever it was called.
StubHub.
It was called something else before StubHub.
Yes.
Those were really easy to watch online.
Yep.
You would just click on and click the event and watch the whole event.
Yep.
It almost got more complex. Is this the final heat?
Yeah.
And it became so complex
Yeah.
that maybe this is just me. There's probably people out there like, you fucking retard. It was so easy to
Yeah.
watch. I find it difficult to watch.
Mm.
And in fact, weirdly, I was doing a random podcast one day in Podcast One, and this girl's interviewing me for her show, and we started talking surfing, and I had done some work for the WSL, or for Surfer Magazine, and she tells me her husband works for the WSL, and I said, I love, and I'm sure, do you watch this? And she said, oh, he works in production. She said, he invented that. And I go, that should be done in every sport.
Yeah.
The heat analyzer that's on the WSL site for surfing is the best way to possibly watch sports, because what it does is it highlights all the important parts, and you can like take your cursor to there and go, I want to watch this wave, I want to watch this wave, I want to see this wipeout, I want to see this interview, but you're to move up to and where not to. You're not watching and I know you know what I'm talking about, I'm just talking to them. You're not watching the video and scrolling a video.
Yeah.
You're looking at a timeline where you put your cursor over it, and it'll say he had a 9.5 wave here.
Yes.
And you're like, oh, I want to go to this. Or he got into Rory at CrossFit headquarters, and I said, you guys should bring this technology, because they were trying to take it out of WSL and sell it to other places.
Yeah.
I said, I'd like to watch an NFL football game like this.
Yeah.
I mean, I would go, you can take me through a whole boring quarter, and I can go to, oh, here was the good tackle.
Yeah.
And then you become the programmer yourself.
Yeah.
And it's much more interact people together and help them both. And he told me it didn't go well with HQ.
Yeah.
And I was like, this would be the best way to watch it, because then you see every heat, you see every person in it, you see how they scored at the end, and then you can just start watching and playing.
Well, nowadays with everyone from the media team, I think was CrossFit pretty much the only organization that they were the media team as well. Like,
right.
I think also people to take over their media, like they're not the experts in media, so they're the experts in running the NFL.
They were very exclusive, because I had talked to them a few times about doing some stuff with them. They come to me and said, hey, why don't you, a number of times, they wanted me to direct some commercials for them. They wanted me to do, early on, talking to me about commentating. I said, I'm not good at that. It's not in my wheelhouse. I make fun of people, and it's usually not what people want to hear.
Yep.
I'll piss everyone off. And so...
I would love to hear that.
Yeah, but
I understand.
They wanted, but then I would kind of say, okay, or... there was a money problem. It's like, guys, maybe I should have done it for free, but I didn't want to. I kind of felt disrespected that they wanted me to do some shit for free. And now all these people they fired are out of jobs, are going to come back because they love it. It's all they know. It's what they do. It's their profession. And I see them. They've all popped up with podcasts now. They are all going to do their own media. And my only fear is that they're not going to have the deep pockets of CrossFit.
Yeah.
So they're going to be doing this as a hobby.
Yeah.
And sometimes if your hobby, you're not going to be able to put in the amount of work if the money's not coming through.
Totally.
And so Now you're going to see all this randomized. But he knows there's so much chaos right now. Could this make people lose interest in this? Like I didn't watch the events at the fittest in South Africa.
Totally.
I didn't watch because where do I go to? What website is there? Like a federation? Is there a?
There wasn't a standard across the board.
Yeah, and that's
Well, who's going to take on the? Well, we don't know, do we?
no, and that's. I mean, we're gonna see it through this games. I mean, I'm sure. And there's obviously been a clash with
Totally.
everybody knows it now that there's that, and I don't think I'm letting the cat out of the bag.
No, I don't think so.
I think there's been a clash between Glassman and Castro, and we're not seeing Castro and Glassman's going off on this health thing where it doesn't seem like he cares much about the games, or if he ever did, but Castro was leading the charge. So who is? It's like these things are popping up randomly, faceless.
Yeah.
And who's behind them, and and is there going to be the enthusiasm for the games this year? And even if there is, will we get those numbers? Like when they say, 300,000 people signed up for the games this year. Are they going to tell you if it's down from last year? Will they even tell, or will they lie, or will they go, we're not even going to tell you how many?
Yeah.
What's going? Friday is the open, right?
Yeah.
First open workout comes out. This is so we're recording this on a Tuesday or Wednesday. Friday is. There's not the hype that there usually is.
No, it's just like, oh shit, the open is in 2 days.
I don't think they're doing one of those WWE events where they bring two people together and have them.
No, I think they're doing a strength in depth one, which is, I think the competition. I think there's a sanctioned event on this weekend, and I think maybe at the start of the sanctioned event they might be doing.
They're going to do the open workout.
A live, something like that. I don't know. That's what I heard.
But I mean, it's Wednesday.
I don't know.
And it's like, this is what we hear? No one fucking knows.
Well, yeah. And, I would just really love Glassman to come out and to put up a Facebook Live or a YouTube Live and just talk for an hour just about on his thoughts and where he thinks this is heading.
I saw it. I went and saw him speak.
Yeah, right.
And he said, that's not us.
So maybe it won't even be CrossFit next year.
That's what my prediction of the future, and people are going to come after me for this, and I don't give a shit.
And you're probably not the only one thinking it.
I'm not the only one thinking it, and as much as people can call me a fucking moron, and they will, it's like, I feel like a sports radio guy, and I get guys like, you don't fucking know anything. Go back and listen to me talk about this 8 years ago on this podcast, and a lot of things that I've said have come true. And a fucking shitload of things that I said were going to happen, predictions I made have happened. So fuck all of you guys that have all given me shit. And here's what I think is going to happen. I think the two are separating, where there will be a federation, there will be the games, the CrossFit functional fitness is not going to die. It's still going to thrive in its own form.
Yeah.
CrossFit is going to be a way to certify people, to certify, to affiliate gyms, to create the fitness protocol that then teaches people to be able to go work out at these competitions, but mostly be broader to the everyman. But I believe that CrossFit, like that, is battling a stigma of injury. And you don't have to say it, and I know a lot of gym owners won't admit it on air, but the average person, when they hear CrossFit, it's synonymous with injury now because of the games. The games created this kind of athlete like you, where guys like me want to be like you, and then I end up in the chiropractor and the physiotherapist and stuff like that. Not because of CrossFit, but because of my ego, but seeing what you're able to do, what I'm not able to do, but what I thought I could do.
Yeah, and I think it taps in. And I agree with you completely. I think it also taps into maybe the ex-swimmer or the ex-footballer who was really good, but maybe never made it as a professional, but has that really competitive edge and was a fantastic athlete as a junior, and they were competitive and they would win some things, and then they found this thing that they could be quite competitive in, like, naturally,
Mm-hmm.
and then it just pushes them. They don't know where that line is drawn. I was listening to I'm pretty sure it was a Sisson podcast talking about he knows where he's like he's like 62 years old.
He looks great.
Yeah. And he was talking about, I know where my limit is, and if I go play, what's that frisbee game?
Yeah, frisbee golf.
It's like
Ultimate.
And he goes, I know that I can't anymore. I can't go up and check someone trying to catch this frisbee. Like, I'll hurt myself. Like, a few years ago I did that and I hurt myself and I didn't draw the line. Like, I think for some people, like, it's almost like the Nemo thing. It's just like, I want to do it.
Yeah.
But then it's just like, you got to be smart about it
Yep.
as well. Like, there's no way, if you were to take me when I thought I was quite fit playing football at 20 years old, and you said, take on this training regime that I'm doing now, guarantee I'd be injured within 2 months. Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't be able to do it because
Right.
the volume is so much different nowadays. And back in the day, like in 2009, 2010, you could train for an hour a day and still be great.
Yeah.
Like, but now it's like we're training for like 4 hours a day. If anyone, sometimes more. And then if anyone wants to jump in, it's like, I want to go to the games because it looks so cool. It's just like, you just can't jump into 4 hours a day. You'll hurt yourself.
But so it was a PR nightmare, and I think that's what happened. This is all my opinion. It created this nightmare for CrossFit, which was trying to bring in the masses to do this workout. And the masses were coming into it and sometimes leaving with injuries, saying, oh, I got injured. And whether it be from poor coaching, whether it be from egos, competitiveness, whatever it was. And so now Glassman has to battle that back because he's got to build this worldwide thing that he has. And the games. So he went, well, I'll let the games, these people love it so much, they'll go do it themselves. And so you're going to have a media that's going to be a random, its own media that does it on its own. All these guys that have been let go are going to go form their own little companies and go film these things and somehow, be entrepreneurial and make companies and make, their own production companies and call up Wadapalooza and say, hey, we'll shoot your whole thing. We'll do the web. We'll do this. We know how to do this. And you pay us. You don't pay CrossFit. You pay us.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden and then it'll all come under this federation, and the sport will still exist. And if you are training like you'd go to a tennis court, that doesn't mean you're going to be at Wimbledon someday.
Yeah.
You're playing tennis. You're going to go to a CrossFit gym. That doesn't mean you're ever going to go to the fittest of South Africa or whatever, Cape Town's fittest. In jiu-jitsu doesn't mean you're ever going to be in the octagon at a UFC event.
Yeah.
And that's how people need to see it. So I think Glassman is kind of separating it.
Yeah.
And but yet he's not. Yeah, it's not like he said, Castro, you can have it, or I'm selling it, and they are certifying, the certification of the competitions.
Yes, exactly.
Because I said that to Armin. I called him one day. I said, who's programming these events? Like, because you could make your event in Dubai to try to get like a Hunter McIntyre in to the games. You could go, oh, we're just going to have like a lot of running.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he flukes his way in.
Yeah.
But Armin said, no, I think in the program, if there's any oversight, so that's what this kind of federation will do, is that oversight to go, all right, this is
okay, this is not okay.
So I think they're gonna exist in their own
Space.
two separate entities. And I think the games has all of the excitement and has the possibility of growth, where CrossFit's fighting a PR problem.
Yeah.
And so, but CrossFit has the chance to be more profitable, like the business model.
Totally.
But it's got that problem.
Yeah.
The games.
Yeah. They may even have to, maybe pull it from a yearly to a bi-yearly, or even every 3 years or every 4 years.
Could be with the Olympics. And when I said, people came after me when I said that the reason, because you make an Olympic sport, more people are doing it, more people see it. Think of the millions and millions. I mean, anyone that disagreed with me on that, you're a moron. Because why would you not want to be part of the Olympics and have it in every single country where people go, oh, I want to do this,
Where do I go do this? Oh, I go to a CrossFit gym to be able to compete in this Olympic sport.
I guess it does. I guess it does. I guess you could, because then you like, I think about world records and things like that, which you do have. But then you think about, like, think of a Olympics. It's like,
There's a lot of sports that there's no world records.
I was trying to think of a way that you could implement it, and I guess it's, you wouldn't be able to standardize it. These are the exact events that you're doing every time that we do it. You could still make it different every single time.
People are crazy if they don't think it can be in the not this Olympics, but the next. People in South America, people in the United States, people in